Hello dear students, I am Dr. Garima Srivastava from Lal Bahadur Shastri College, Lucknow. We are going to discuss about the emerging trends of employee involvement. So, for that purpose, we need to understand what is employee involvement. Now, employees are the human resources or the assets of the organization. Their understanding in the organization, their loyalty towards the organization and their retention in the organization is an important part. To accomplish this task, human resource department can go in for employee involvement on the part of employees. Now, when we talk about employee involvement, it can be defined as direct participation of staff to help an organization fulfill its mission. Now, when we talk about involvement, it means we are involving the employees, we are asking them, we are encouraging them to give suggestions, we are encouraging them to tell about their problems regarding their tasks, all these things, and participation of their staff, this staff in the decision making process of the organization. So, when they are involved in such kind of processes such as decision making processes or the project accomplishment tasks of the organization, they feel that the organization is thinking about themselves, and there develops a feeling of self satisfaction amongst the employees. So, that is why employee involvement is an important aspect of human resource development department. It meets the objectives by applying their own idea of expertise and efforts towards solving problem and making decisions. So, when we are talking about employee involvement, which is a very important part of encouraging the employees, making them satisfied, making them motivated, feel loyal towards the organization, so that they remain in the organization for a longer period of time. So, for all this purpose, for the retention of these talented, skilled people in the organization needs to get them into the process of solving problems which they face on day to day basis, as well as their involvement in the decision making process of the organization. So, involvement is directly related to problem solving steps of the organization as well as the decision making parts of the organization. Effective organizations everywhere understand the importance of employee involvement at all levels of work, and there are strong links between employee involvement and the important outcomes. So, when we are talking about employee involvement, if the more the employee is involved in the organization's decision making process, in the organization's various problem solving techniques, the more and more he works towards the effectiveness of the outcomes. So, whatever are the focus of the organization as the outcomes, such as productivity or efficiency of the organization, it is always related to the involvement of the employees. So, employees have to be involved, they should be engaged in various activities of the organization. Their anticipation is much regarded as a crucial part of motivation of the employees in the organization. What are the benefits of an employee involvement? Why are we talking about employee involvement? In international human resource management, when the expats are going from the home country to the host country, they are away from their peer group, they are away from the families, they are away from their social background. So, over there the employee involvement plays an important part. Why? Because once they are in the host country, they feel left alone in the culture which is very new for them. So, for this it is important for the organization that they arrange in for employee involvement on the part of these employees. Now, employee involvement can be made through various steps, like they can be encouraged to take part in various problems, take part in finding solutions of various problems of the organization. They can be encouraged in various decision making processes of the organization. So, ultimately what will happen if the person is more involved, if he thinks that the organization thinks his ideas, his opinions, his options to be at a beneficiary part of the organization. So, over there the employee is well motivated and he feels more satisfied towards his job. So, ultimately what will happen? Employee involvement will increase the productivity across the industry. So, whatever industries we are talking about, whether the industries vary in different kinds of tasks or jobs, the employee becomes more and more productive, because he is aware of all the problems he is handling in day to day basis, and if he is involved in taking decisions of these particular day to day problems, then of course the decisions will be taken at a right time and there will be no delays in the decisions. So, when delays are not there, the productivity and the efficiency of the employee will automatically increase. Secondly, we can say in manufacturing units, employee involvement programs are long term investment. So, when we are talking about people in the manufacturing unit, like we are talking about blue collared workers, the people who are semi skilled or lesser skilled people, over there the employee involvement becomes an important part, because most of the people at the manufacturing units may be illiterate or may be semi literate, where the trainer or the supervisor may or may not be able to explain each and everything about the machines on which he is working. So, over there it becomes important that he is made more and more involved, he is made to encourage more and more queries about the different tasks that he has to perform. So, whenever he is asking different queries, he is putting up his problems related to various machines in the manufacturing units. Over there the involvement part becomes more for the employee. So, in this respect, in the manufacturing unit, the involvement program is a long term investment. That means the organization looks in for very long term relationship with the employee who is there in the production department, and it leads to increased plant production over time. So, once he is more and more the employees become more and more involved in the decision making process of the production plant, in the long term productivity is there, increase in productivity comes over time, and of course, the people who are involved in such kind of decision making process, the laborers, the employees who are semi skilled, who are involved in such kind of decision making processes or analyzing the problems at the plant level, they will be able to train and guide the other people who are new to the organization or who have just now joined the organization at a recent time. Then thirdly, we can say it improves employee decision making capability. Organizational decision making capability can be increased and it can be improved if employees put in their inputs regarding the different problems, because the employees are the first people who face these problems. So, they are able to analyze the problem very well, and they will be able to judge whether the problem is of which nature, and they will be able to portray the problem in a very a correct manner. So, when portraying the problem, when we are able to portray the problem in a correct manner, that means we are able to analyze the correct kind of problems or correct kind of factors related to the problems, which are the factors given as an input by the employee himself. Over there, the decision making capabilities, decision making activities of the organization becomes more and more improved. Right. Then improved attitude regarding work. Now, once the employee becomes involved in the problem solving techniques or searching various tools and methods through which this problem can be solved, over there the attitude towards the work also becomes positive. So, the behavior, the expected behavior of the employee, that is always expected to be positive, it becomes positive once he gets involved in the various kinds of activities, various kinds of problem solving techniques of the organization. Then comes substantially improves employee well-being. Now, of course, when we talk about employee involvement, we are also talking about the safety and welfare of the people. So, safety and welfare of the people means the well-being, all round well-being of the employee in the organization. Now, all round well-being means physical well-being as well as the emotional well-being of the employee. Then once the employees are involved in different problem solving techniques of the organization, the various costs which may be incurred to analyze those problem on the analyze those problem by someone else who is not involved in these problems at all will increase the cost of the organization. So, solving the problem by the people who are facing the problem and who are analyzing the problem, who will be better able to tell you the exact causes of the problem, and the ways to deal with the problem will always reduce the time and the cost of the organization to deal with the problem. So, it is always good that so as to solve the problem at the end wherever it is arising. So, it eliminates the option of waste or reduced product cycle time. So, there is almost elimination of any kind of waste that or waste of time or waste of cost or waste of any kind of raw material if this particular problem solving technique or problems are being asked or analyzed at the level of the individual himself or the employee himself. Lastly, we can say that it leads to employee empowerment, job satisfaction, creativity, commitment, motivation as well as intent to stay. Now, these are the parts of human resource department which are focused when we talk about various employees in the organization. So, when implying human resources on different employees in the organization, it directly leads to employee empowerment. Empowerment means the employee feels power, he feels authorized, he feels that he has certain kind of power in presenting his ideas, in presenting his views towards decision making activities of the organization. The ideas may or may not be accepted based on various tests and trials that the organizations do, but still if ideas are welcomed, suggestions are welcomed by the organization, the employee definitely feels himself to be empowered. Ultimately, what happens once the employee feels himself to be empowered, he feels that the organization is taking interest in his opinion, in his issues. So, over there more and more job satisfaction may be derived. He will be more involved in his job, he will try to come up with various analytical solutions related to the problems of the job itself. Then of course, when we are talking about employee involvement, problem solving technique, problem solvings are always related with creativity and innovation. That means, when we are encouraging employee involvement in the organization, creativity and proactivity will always be there. So, people will become more creative, they will try to find out new solutions, they will try to search new horizons, so as to solve the problems that are coming up in the day to day activities of the job. Then commitment, then once the employee is involved in all kinds of problem solving techniques, he has come up with certain solutions, and he has also been a part of decisions, certain decisions of the organization. Of course, he will remain committed to these decisions because he was a part of that decision making process. Then comes motivation. He will be further motivated to remain in the organization for a longer period of times because he is well satisfied, he is mentally satisfied that the organization is listening to him and the organization is considering his ideas and opinions at a higher perspective as it was doing before. So, these were the basic advantages of employee involvement, and that is why employee involvement in the organization is important. Now, when we talk about international human resource management, over here employee involvement is a very important part, because once the employee is away in the host country, over there he is away from his peer group, his subordinates, his families, his friends. So, over there the involvement of this person, this expat in the host country in various decision making process will make him more and more motivated, and he will not feel that he is left out by the organization in certain aspects. So, whenever he is involved in certain decision making activities of the organization in the subsidiary company also, over there the motivation level and the morale level of the employee will always increase. So, it is an important part of international human resource management. Now, talking about the various elements of employee involvement, when we talk about employee involvement, these three aspects have to come, or these three elements are very necessary. That means, we can implement employee involvement in the organization only when we have these three aspects in our organization. The very first one is employee needs to be given authority to participate in substantive decision. Now, just by saying that you are encouraged, your suggestion suggestions are welcomed. You can give, you can tell your you can tell your opinions about various decisions taken in the organization, will not do. You have to authorize that person, you have to give power, you have to delegate authority to the people, to the employees, so that they are better able to participate in decision making processes of the organization. That means whatever decisions they are coming up to, whatever agreements they are coming up to with a team, these are actually implemented in the organization. So, this is called authority to participate. So, vesting, asking suggestions is somewhat different, and vesting authority to take decisions is somewhat different. Now, what the human resource department can do? It can vest some of the authority, a limitation of authority to the middle level management and the lower level management in their respective areas of decision making. So, the span of control has to be defined over here. So, whatever span of the control is there, the employees can take decision up to that span of control within the organization structure. Secondly, employees need to have appropriate decision making skills. Now, of course, now if organization is asking for various decisions, for various opinions or suggestions of the employees in respect of decision making abilities, or in respect of decision making process of the organization, there is a need that employees are also having decision making skills. So, if the employees of a certain level are there who are having this decision making skills, then it is good. But if the decision making skills in the employees are lacking, they have to be trained, proper training has to be given, so that they are able to become better decision makers in the organization, and the skill of decision making may be polished with these particular employees. So, the development of these decision making skills is also important part. So, if it is not developed, it is if more and more authority is not vested in the employees as they move up in the ladder, if more and more responsibility is not given to them, if they move up the ladder in the organization structure, the decision making skills are not polished. So, it becomes the responsibility of the organization only that every employee is aware of which ladder he has to move up in the organization structure, and similarly as he moves up in the organization structure, the decision making skills have to be more and more polished. Then lastly, incentives to participate. Now, there should always be certain incentives attached to the participation in decision making abilities or decision making skills. So, whatever decisions are taken, you have to remain committed with those decisions, and whatever be the outcomes, whether positive or negative, the person has to be responsible for those negative or positive outcomes. So, this means this is actually the meaning of incentives to participate. So, whenever you are talking about participation, whenever you are talking about involvement of the employee in various decision making activities, or in problem solving techniques of the organization, or in certain strategic parts of the organization, strategic operations of the organization, it has to be attached with somewhat positive or negative outcome of these decisions. Now, whatever are the positive or the negative outcomes of the decisions, the decision makers have to be responsible for that. So, now when we talk about emerging trends of employee involvement, it includes the various points that are as follows. The first one is continuous improvement teams. Now, when we talk about employee involvement, the very first technique or very first trend that is very common in international human resource management is continuous improvement teams. Now, it is a process of improvement teams that are project teams that focus on improving, developing specific business processes. Now, these are the teams which continuously work towards continuous improvement as well as learning of the organization. Now, that means this team continuously acts or supervises or analyzes the various processes of the organization, like say suppose hiring process of the organization. Now, analyzing the hiring process, it will look into the various gaps between the desired and the existing outcomes. So, if there are gaps between desired and existing outcomes, these gaps need to be analyzed, and next time when the hiring process is done, the gaps have to be reduced. So, this is the meaning of continuous improvement and learning teams. So, when the organization moves towards employee involvement, employee engagement, it wants more and more employees to be involved in the problem solving techniques, it has to set up a continuous improvement team. That means each and every person who is a member of the organization is working as a team for the organization, and because every person, every member in the organization is working with each other and in coordination with each other, the organization is working as a team. So, each and every member has to focus on quality issues, on the improvement issues, and learn that whatever processes they are working in, they have to improve, they have to bring about continuous improvement in those processes, bring about continuous through continuous learning of themselves. So, by learning, by analyzing the various aspects of the process, continuous improvement of those processes can be brought about. Now, what does these teams do? These teams come together to achieve a specific goal and are guided by well defined project plans and have negotiated beginnings and ends. So, when we talk about continuous improvement teams, these teams run as a project plan, and when we talk about plan, that means they are running on a perfect plan of action. They know what are the steps to analyze the various processes that are ongoing in the organization, and to also learn about the various gaps that are existing between the desired and the existing outcomes. So, to reduce those gaps, what can be the rectifications, what can be strategies that can be taken up by the organization. Secondly, formal quality of work life programs. Now, when we talk about QWL, quality of work life programs, now this means providing certain kind of quality to the people, to the work life of the people who are coming to the organization. So, QWL programs are organizational development efforts that result not only in the job satisfaction, but in the life satisfaction. So, now apart from providing job satisfaction to the person, there is also a requirement to provide life satisfaction to the person, which comes from quality of work life programs. Employees who have higher level of organizational commitment tend to be experience a great spillover effect than those who have expressed lower levels of commitment. So, the people who have higher level of commitment towards the organization, they have a more formal quality of work life. That means they expect that the organization will look after their life, the satisfaction of their life much more as compared to the other people in the organization who have the lower level of organizational commitment. So, quality of work life programs are directly dependent on the level of expectation of the person himself. Then employee value proposition, it is a proposition, it is a balance of rewards and benefits that the company can offer to its employees in return of its amazing performance in the workplace. So, what we can say that employee value proposition is almost equivalent to unique value proposition of the marketing idea which is known towards the defining of a product in the market. So, if an organization values its employees a lot, the more and more employees from the external part of the organization are attracted towards the organization, and they feel that this organization has a very good culture to join. So, it becomes a USP for the organization if it invests its money, its time in the employee value proposition. Then quality control circle. A quality control circle is a participatory management technique which enlists the help of employees in solving problem related to their own jobs. Now, quality control circles are almost equivalent to you can say employee participation, where people are responsible to bring about analyze about the problems related to their own jobs, and they try to discuss these problems with the people who are related, who can be the supervisor in the organization, and they may come up with probable solutions to these jobs of these problems of their jobs. Circles are formed of employees working together in an operation who meet at intervals intervals to discuss the problem of the quality and devise solutions for improvement. Then more and more, if we talk about employee involvement, flatter organization structures provide more and more employee involvement. So, if there are lesser number of nodes, if the organization structure is flat, so there are less number of people to supervise, large number of, so over there fewer levels of middle management are there. So, over there employee involvement will be more. Flat organizations have a structure with few levels of middle level management between leadership and employees, and sometimes what happens in a small organization or startups, the middle level management, or you can say the lower level management, is not there at all. So, if one of the levels of management is not there at all, more and more people will be there at the middle level management. So, they have to remain involved in all kinds of problem solving techniques as well as the decision making capabilities of the organization. Then comes labor management problem solving efforts. It can be done through following ways. Now, when we talk about management of labor problems in relation to employee involvement, we as a human resource department, it has to reduce down the information loads, information overloads that are there. If more and more information is there, more confusion will be there. So, it is important that you make clear every kind of information to the people who are related to that particular information. Then secondly, it will increase the productivity of the employee. If you manage the labor problems, the productivity will automatically increase. Empower current workers, the workers who are there working in the factory, working at the plant level, you have to empower them. You may encourage them to bring up their problems to the supervisor, and supervisor has to come up with probable solutions to those problems at the right time. Then always manage the workflow if you want the labor problems to be managed at that level itself. So, workflow should not be such that one person is overloaded and other is the underloaded. So, you have to optimally divide the work and work according to the skills and the skill sets of the people who are working on it. Then fill up the technological gaps. Technology gaps are always there when we talk about plant level, because at plants we are talking about various machineries. So, over here if there is a kind of technology gap, the people are not aware of new technology, a pre-training or training session needs to be arranged for the people, so that they are aware, they are better aware of the upgraded or advanced technology that the organization is using. Then change the culture should be changed, the culture should be very flexible, that means it should be adaptive, it should be creative, it should be innovative. The people should be encouraged to bring up ideas, bring up suggestions, they should be encouraged to bring up their problems to the management, and management should always be proactive to bring up probable solutions to the problems of the people. Then employee problem solving task force and teams. A team is a collection of individuals organized to accomplish a common purpose, who are interdependent and who can be identified by themselves. Observers as team. Now, when we talk about problem solving a task force means this is a team which is specifically committed towards solving of a problem in the organization. So, this team exists within a large organization, and this interact with other teams in the organization also. So, when they interact with the other teams in the organization, they are better able to analyze the problem, the factors responsible for that problem, and then by analyzing and putting up certain testing tools and measures, they can come up with probable solutions to the problems. Lastly, we can say a structured suggestion system can be there, which is an emerging trend in the employee involvement technique. This is suggestion systems are a form of employee to management communication which benefit the employee as well as the employers. So, these kind of suggestion systems should always be there, which is a two-way channel of communication between employer and employee, and where employees are welcomed, employees are encouraged to bring about suggestions to come up with their problems related to their jobs, and management is also willing to welcome their suggestions, implement their suggestions whatever they are giving to the organization if they are feasible enough, and of course, they are coming up with the probable solutions to the problems of the employees. So, all these 8 aspects are the emerging trends of the employee involvement in regard to international human resource management. Thank you.